Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First of all, you guys know the drill. If you guys please smash that like button, I'd really appreciate it. If you guys could leave a comment down below, I don't care what it is, it super helps the channel out. Today I wanted to go over our M-tek spray booth. Now we've had this spray booth installed for about a year now, and I just kind of wanted to go over some things. I have a little list here of some topics I want to talk about, so I'm just going to kind of wing this, so please bear with me. Anyways, I just kind of wanted to go over the install and kind of like a 1 year review update. So anyways, we've purchased this M-tek spray booth from mtekspraybooths.net. Now they were very good to work with. Now I've actually purchased a couple things from them. I've had a mobile spray unit as well, and I had a very good experience purchasing that through them. And so I decided to go with them for the spray booth as well. I do believe they were about the best bang for the buck. There are models that are cheaper than this. I'm not going to go over pricing and stuff right now. We are going to do that in a future video of the total cost for install of the spray booth, but I can guarantee whatever booth you're putting in, you can pretty much double the cost for install, permits, fire suppression, all that good stuff. So anyways, like I said, we're going to do that in a future video. I just want to go over the overall install, the operational stuff, and just kind of like a good review of what I think about the product. Anyways, this is a 24-foot semi-downdraft spray booth. You can get this non-powder coated. You can get it with or without the windows. You can get it built with the exhaust on this side. You can get it built with the exhaust on the side. You can see I have it, vice versa, of course. Now this spray booth is upgradable to Hvac, so if you want to plumb it for heating and so you can have a bake cycle, you can do that. You can purchase it like that from M-tek if you want, but of course it's a lot more money. But I got mine non-heated. I do have a heated shop, so I'm not too worried about it. There's only about a few months out of the year here that are kind of chilly, so as long as the shop's heated, it's not a big deal. I also don't do a huge high turnaround. I run my booth about 3 to 4 times a week max, so I'm not too worried about it versus 3 to 4 times a day, like some high volume body shops out there. Anyways, I'm just gonna kind of go over the install. Now, overall construction, very happy with the product. I ordered mine in a powder coated finish. I thought the powder coating overall was done very nicely. Nothing's chipped off, nothing's worn off. I think it looks great. This is just a little dirty. Now we have it anchored to the floor with some 1/4 inch anchors. Now we used a roto hammer and drilled into the concrete, and we hammered in some anchors and just used a 1/4 inch hardware to nail it down. So it's also pretty much assembled with 1/4 inch hardware as well. They give you hundreds or even thousands of 1/4 inch bolts, nuts to assemble this thing. So get some friends, get a couple impacts, and basically we had this whole booth pretty much assembled. About 3 of us, we had it assembled in about a day and a half, 2 days. About 2 days it was pretty much assembled, and then of course we had to do the exhaust and the wiring, fire suppression, and all that stuff. But the overall construction, if you have 3 to 4 guys, depending on how fast you're working, a full day or a day and a half to 2 days top. So within a couple days you guys can throw this up, no problem. Honestly, you'll have most of it together the first day. Now if I ever tear this spray booth down and move it, I'm probably going to try to I'm going to mark these panels so they go back in the exact location, but 2, I'm going to try to take them down in a way where I can lessen the time for install. So I might do double the panels, so I might leave a couple of panels connected versus taking each individual panel apart. You want to get kind of an idea of where you want to put it in your shop. Of course, you'll want to deal with city or county permits if you have to do that. So you do kind of have to have a general location of where you want to build it. That way you're not completely off, because this thing's not exactly light once it's put together. You can shift and manipulate it a little bit, and of course you will have to do that because you do need it absolutely 100% square to make sure your doors line up. And of course you want to be looking down the side and you want to see that it looks straight. Pretty much it comes with a blueprint of how it's designed and how it goes together, and as long as you can read, you can put it together. So the booth doors. Now I'm gonna start with the man door down here. And you can see it has a latch. Comes with these little latches and some little handles. I would probably suggest maybe switching handles to a nicer handle, but overall this is the one that comes with. Works just fine. But it does open freely. Now of course, when you turn the booth on, it sucks even tighter up against the seal. So it just kind of swings open just like that. And you can shut it just like that. Now, if you look, I do have some rubber single bulb seals. Now I got those from a local canopy shop. It's the same seals that they use to like seal up canopies, but you can pretty much use it for anything. But it's one-sided sticky. They give you foam tape from M-tek, but I think foam tape just kind of breaks down over time, gets really dirty, and it just wasn't heavy duty enough for me. So I went ahead and installed a rubber seal. Now I did like little pie cuts in the corner so I can make the corners really nice. I cleaned the surface, I put some adhesion promoter, and I stuck the seal on there, and I have not had any problems with the seal coming loose after a full year of use. So super happy with that. Overall, it does seal really good. You can see right down here in this bottom corner, I do have a little bit of a gap. Now you can almost see it's very dirty in this area, and I believe that it is pulling in some dirt in this corner, although when the booth's on, it does suck a little tighter, I will say that. So I'm not sure if my door's just tweaked slightly or if it's just not quite square enough, but we do have a little bit of a gap in that corner. Now we are downwind, so anything that is sucking in is pretty much gonna go right into the exhaust, so not too worried about it, but it does affect how the booth pulls and overall functions. Now, the drive-in doors, pretty much the same thing. You wanna make sure they're square. You can see my single bulb seal there that I've installed. This door overlaps this door, and we have a latch and a striker up there, and you just push and it just clicks and it holds, and of course when the booth's on it holds even tighter. Overall, I think we have a really good seal on this one with the single bulb rubber seal. You can see I have a little piece of rubber notched out and stuck to the door up there. Now that is the piece of rubber that they gave you. They gave you like a, I don't know, about 5-inch strip of rubber, about 10 feet long. And you can see my rubber seal is fairly compressed, pretty tight. It's actually pretty flat. That's how tight of a seal it is. So overall, really happy with the single bulb seal that we have installed around the perimeter of this door. Now, of course, you don't have a center, a lower section. So they give you this 10-foot strip of about 5-inch rubber, and it's just kind of like a sweep seal. Now, not really sure if they intended you to install it on the front or the rear. I had a friend that ordered the same booth. They actually installed it on this side. I installed it on the inside for cosmetic reasons. They give you this little piece of metal to strap it down with, but you can see it just kind of drags on the ground like that. But it also depends on how even your concrete is. Now you can see that there's a little bit of daylight when I'm kind of shutting the door there. So overall, you can even see just a little bit of a hole in the very corner. Of course, you have to get a little bit creative as far as the seals go. They don't exactly tell you the best way to do that, so you just have to use your common sense and trial and error. And overall, pretty happy. Like I said, there's a little bit of daylight there that just probably lets a little bit of dirt in. And of course, one of these days I'd like to get some time and try to seal that up just a little bit better. But overall, the booth works awesome. I do have a couple little holes like that I do believe are pulling in some dust and dirt and particles. So at some point, when I get some time, I'd love to try to tackle this project and try to get that to seal up a little bit better. And for all I know, it's my single bulb seal holding the door too far out. So we do need to figure out something. We need to put some sort of seal in there that would compress, and maybe as well in the corners. Now when I spray, I do wet the floor outside the spray booth here. I wet the floor, I wet the sweep seal, I wet my entire walkway where I mix paint, and I wet entirely on the inside of the spray booth as well to keep the dust and dirt down, and that really helps. Now, you can also wear a paint suit. So between making sure your booth is clean, you got a paint suit on, your floor is wet, you know, you make sure your panels are clean, whatever you're painting is clean, you're gonna get an overall better job. The light glass. We have some glass that cover the lights. Now, my spray booth's been heavily used in the last year, and you can see it does have some booth coating, which is kind of why it gives it a little hazy look. And when they get you the booth, these glass templates for the lighting are all in a stack, and it's up to you to put them in. Now, they give you some foam tape. I didn't use theirs. I used some sticky foam tape I got from somewhere else, and I got a pretty nice seal overall. I do recommend having those urethaned in, just like they do on the doors. It would be nice if M-tek had sent each one of those panels with the glass sealed in, just like their doors. So I paid a little extra to get this door with a piece of glass in it, as well as the front doors. And they have a nice little frame here, and you can see some sealant that has held the glass, and it's very clean and it looks really good. I'm not sure why they didn't do that on this. I'm sure for cost reasons, but you can see the glass is just literally laid in there. The light lays in there, and then you put the light clips on. I did order another set of light clips from M-tek because I do want to put, I believe that the light would be better if you had put these light clips, one in each corner versus just one in the center. I think it would hold the light down a little tighter like that, which would help compress that glass to that foam seal, because this little bit of slop right there is just enough to let a little bit of dust creep through in the corners. So I do recommend, to make it a little bit better, that you do something as far as sealing these windows up to the metal panel. It is nice that I can take them out and clean them, but it just seems to be a little bit of a weak point as far as dust and particles creeping in. You can kind of see where it looks like it's pulled some dirt and stuff into the booth. I'll just kind of go around and show you guys. You can kind of see I mean, a lot of that's just overspray. Now you can see that the booth doors, they're nicely sealed. Right here, you can kind of see it looks like it's been pulling in dirt. You can see that right there. So you can see it just kind of creep in through the corners. Right there's another spot. So, like I said, you got to get a little bit creative. I did kind of change up what they sent me, so that could be part of the issue, but I do believe that you got to get a little bit creative. I do believe it would be nice to actually urethane these glasses in and have them sealed up. Now, of course, if they ever get broken, it would be nice if they weren't sealed in and they just changed it out, but it would be kind of nice if they were sealed in just for dirt particle reasons. Now, the upper ones are a little bit better because they're angled, so you get the gravity helping you pull the weight of the glass down onto that seal. So if you look, those ones look much, much cleaner as far as dirt pulling in. Now, here's another example. This one almost looks like you got a little bit of a gap up there. So you can see it's pulled in a lot of dirt. You got some build up there. This one's not too bad, maybe a little bit in that corner. This one looks pretty good. And that one looks pretty good. So just a couple of them, you know, so you do got to get a little bit creative on the ceiling. So that's one thing I would suggest is when you're doing this, the number one thing is making sure that this booth is 100% sealed up. Now we do have some caulking on the floor. Of course you can't really see it, but it is completely caulked all the way around the perimeter of the booth. I am going to be redoing that at some point. I do believe the stuff I used didn't really hold up to water very well. And I think from wetting the floor, I think some of it's washed out. And I believe that if I re-caulk it at some point, that it will be a lot better. So at some point, I do want to redo my booth coating. A lot of the overspray on the walls you see, that's just onto the booth coating. This booth coating is clear and it washes off with water. You might have to scrub a little bit with the Scotch-Brite, but pretty much I can get in here with a pressure washer and wash this booth coating completely off, get most about 95 to 99% of the overspray completely off. Let it dry, do some caulking in some areas that I need to, as well as the perimeter of the floor, and go ahead and reapply booth coating. Now I didn't apply booth coating to these front windows because this is upwind. Not a lot of overspray is gonna get on here. I have gotten a little bit of overspray on here before, and I just spend about 15-20 minutes and I just kind of clean up the overspray with some steel wool and some glass cleaner, and they just look brand new again. So it's nice to be able to look in there and see it clear. I did apply booth coating on the glass for the lights. That'll all wash off with water once we do some pressure washing. So, filters. I'm gonna start off with the intake filters. Now you got two sets of intake filters. You got primary and secondary. So those are our primary filters. Now you can see that whole box up there is an intake box. It's got 3 sides. You can see them right there, as well as the other side. You can see them right there. Now those are the primary intake filters. They are sticky on one side, so you can see from being inside my body shop here, we do a lot of sanding and stuff out here. It's really dusty in here over time, so a lot of dust does attract to that like a magnet, and it sticks on it, and over time they do get kind of plugged up. Those filters have been in there for over a year now, and they are pretty dusty, pretty dirty. I'm sure if I changed them out, the booth would perform even better. So it's about time for me to change those out. Sometimes I do get up there and I blow off the spray booth and I get them to perform a little bit better. But it is about time that those are exchanged out for new ones. Now the secondary intake filters are on the inside here, and I would assume that those are much cleaner. I'm sure if you went up in there, the top side of them have a little bit of dirt because of anything that's creeping by those first primary intake filters is going to get caught by the secondary filters. So I would say it's about time to probably change out the intake filters completely. I've had those in there for over a year. They seem to look pretty good, but like I said, you can't really see the inside of these ones. So I'd say about once a year at least you need to be changing those, maybe twice a year if you're a high volume body shop or more. Exhaust filters. I have changed these twice. This is the second set of exhaust filters. I do believe I should have changed them much earlier. So I would say you need to be changing your exhaust filters about probably around 4 times a year, honestly, about 3 to 4 times a year, depending how much you use your booth. If you're a heavy use, I would say you probably are changing them almost once a month, once every other month. So you can see here, these have actually been cleaned. Now by cleaning, I mean I take the grates out, I pull them out, I shake them out a little bit, I blow them out, and then I sweep it all up and I throw it in the garbage with the dustpan, and then I put them back in. So you can see these have some overspray that I've bonded and stuck to it. Some of them are a little cleaner than others so they don't end up in the same spot. But overall, like I said, but they're really not that expensive. I think they're around $100 for a box of 50, and it takes 20. So I mean, you get a box, you get 2.5 changes every box you get. So you can get a couple boxes and just change them out as you need. I like to clean them out and blow them out before I do a big job or anything that's super important or anything that I'm really trying to make sure it's clean. So every few jobs, I'd say about every 4 to 5 jobs, you'll see me take the filters out and clean them, shake them, give them a good shake, blow them out a little bit, and then I reinstall them. As far as the airflow, a lot of how you can read and judge how good your booth is working is this manometer. Now the manometer is included with the spray booth. It comes with instructions on how to use it. I don't know exactly the science behind it, but basically you can kind of see I have an arrow here. Now that arrow is just kind of there for like, hey, the closer to that arrow you get is basically the worse your booth is working. So you want it to be pulling to that arrow. You want it to be in this general area. Once it gets past here, your filters are getting pretty dirty and they're not pulling. Now I keep a chart for the EPA and the Clean Air Agency. They check in about once or twice a year, and they want to see what kind of paint I'm using, how much paint I'm using. So I got to keep track of everything I use as far as paint. And then I also have a chart here that shows me kind of monitoring my filters. I'm dating it. I'm showing it how good the filters are. I'm showing what I do to repair the filters or change the filters or clean the filters, depending on how much it's drawing. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this on. You guys can see this manometer kind of show. So you can kind of see it's pulling up right now. I'm actually going to open a door right now. With that door open, now look how much that gauge is pulling. If you are in an enclosed building, you don't have a lot of vents, you are going to want to open a door like that. So now you can see how much higher this gauge went. It was down here. Now it's at about 0.07, which is pretty much the sweet area. After a couple paint jobs, you'll see it at 0.08. 4 or 5 paint jobs, 0.09. You'll get in the 0.10, 0.11, and you know, as the dirtier the filters get. And you'll notice that your overspray is sitting in the air and it's just not flowing as good. And that manometer has a port here, and there's also a port behind this filter inside the box just behind this wall, and that's what gives you that reading. So electrical, I'm not an electrician. I had a friend that's an electrician come and help me wire it, so I don't know. I'm just not going to say too much about that. You can go back and watch our other videos as far as the wiring and stuff like that. We have a playlist for the spray booth, so go ahead and go check that out. We have an electrical box here. We have our lights. We have our primary exhaust switch, which powers this box. This is just kind of a control box for the booth motor. And then we have our on-off for the booth fan. I'll go ahead and flip that on one more time. See our booth, our manometer climb back up. And our filters are pretty clean right now, so we're reading a pretty good reading of 0.07, and that's about exactly what it reads with new filters. So overall, our booth is working pretty darn good, and you can kind of reflect on your chart that you keep in your readings about how good your booth is pulling. So manometer is very important to have up. Fire suppression, I have another video on that as well, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on that, but I had to have a professional company come in and do that. The city would not allow me to even pull the permit for that. They would not allow me to install it. Pretty much you cannot touch it if you're not certified. So I had to have a certified business. I had a national company of the name of Pipe Barker Fire and Safety come out, and they installed this. It was certified, it was inspected by the city, and they signed off on it. It was very expensive to do, but you guys can go ahead and check out the fire suppression video in the spray booth playlist on my channel, and that'll kind of elaborate a little more on that. But they basically give you a tank, dry chemical tank that will feed the spray booth itself. So you got the dry chemical tank there. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 valves in there. And then you have a smaller dry chemical tank right there. And you got that one feeds 2 valves, one above the exhaust fan and one below the exhaust fan. And basically when this system goes off, you got about 10 seconds to get the hell out, and it will, of course, it has an alarm and a buzzer, so it will be buzzing and strobing. So if you're deaf or blind, you should be able to kind of see what's going on. It shuts off power to the air supply, so all that's wired in this box. You can see that wiring that actually goes to my booth or my air compressor, and will cut out the air line and air supply so it doesn't feed any oxygen to the fire to feed it and make the flames any bigger. But anyways, that's pretty much that. That's the control head. Now this pole station has to be installed about 20 feet away, and no more than I can't really remember, so you guys will have to go back and watch that video. We're going up on top of the spray booth, and you can see it's a little bit dusty here, so I'm going to be very careful stepping up here, and I'm going to step right up here. And you can see I'm a big guy, and I can walk pretty safely on these panels. They don't dent, they're pretty strong, pretty rigid. I'm not too worried about it. Anyways, you can see our intake box here. You can see those filters are getting plenty dirty. So I believe once I do a little bit of a booth refresh, do some cleaning, redo the booth coating, I'm going to definitely be doing a new intake and exhaust filters all at once. This black pipe from the dry chemical suppression comes up, tees off. You got 2 valves here. You got 2 that go through the intake box, straight through, And I'm gonna go ahead and pull back one of these primary intake filters just so we can get a good peek at how much dirt is really in there. So you can see it's a pretty good little light layer of dust in there. Overall, the secondary filters don't look too bad, but there's a little light layer of dust that is creeping by. You can see the fire suppression pipe going through there, and that's where our other valves are, right there. So we're gonna go ahead and stick that back in there. Those just sit in there. Of course, they pull pretty tight once you turn the booth on. You can see our pull station kind of mounted up to our building, and it runs all the way over there down that wall. So you do kind of have to walk over this pipe. You know, I've recently blown off the top of the spray booth, so a little more dust does get accumulated than this on top of the booth. So it's not exactly beautiful up here. It gets a little dirty. You can see our electricals ran. We do got to do a little bit of cleanup. I got to get some mounts or some zip ties or something. But anyways, here is our booth fan mounted right over the exhaust. You can see we have another valve from the other bottle that's below the fan and one that's above the fan. And you can see here we got our booth motor. There are two belts right here, pretty decently exposed so we can service it. You got adjustments on the booth motor to make sure it's pulling right. And we of course have our exhaust ducting going straight out the roof. Now I had a roofing friend of mine cut the hole in the roof, and we gave him a hand running this exhaust pipe through the ceiling, and overall a pretty good job. I do have a couple leaks, unfortunately, so I think next time if I ever had to do this, I would try to go out the wall to prevent as many leaks. And so if I could get like a 45-degree out the wall and then go straight up, that would be ideally better. When I move this booth one day, I will definitely be doing that. As far as running the exhaust, I will not be going straight out the roof because I am fighting a couple leaks. I only get when it rains really hard, so about 3 times a year, 3-4 times a year, it rains really hard, and it's just enough water to allow a little bit to build up and come and drip in, which of course runs down here, drips down, just kind of makes a mess. I had a bucket sitting up here at one point, and that bucket filled up to the rim, unfortunately. Luckily it wasn't on our electrical, and it didn't really hurt anything, but we do need to get up there and seal that up here shortly. But it only happens when it rains really hard, so I am being very careful here. But you can see our electrical is all teed together. We got some junction boxes. Everything's just kind of ran and tucked up under the booth, ran up and over in the center. You can see here, of course, my ladder's in the way, but I did leave just enough room to kind of shimmy back there if I ever need to do anything on the backside. But I also didn't want to waste too much floor space out in front of the booth, so I did get as tight as possible with leaving enough room to walk back there if I ever had to do any work or maintenance or anything like that. This sign is not included. Fire suppression installed that. The electrical supplies is not included. The black pipe for the fire suppression system is not included. Even when you add the fire suppression system to your order, they only give you the tank and some of the main components. It is up to you to wire that. Even the fire suppression company won't do the electrical part, so you do have to have an electrician or yourself do the wiring for the fire suppression. None of this pipe comes with the fire suppression kit. You do get these little 90-degree turning points for the cable that's inside for the pull station, so you do get those, but you don't get the pipe, and you don't get these mounts and stuff like that. You do get the tanks and stuff like that, but overall you do have to have a fire suppression company, and it is not cheap to come out and finish up the fire suppression. So overall, the spray booth is awesome. We're gonna go outside. I'm just gonna show you guys a quick look at the exhaust sticking out the roof. We're not gonna go outside on the roof. A little too dangerous, a little too slick right now. But I am just gonna walk outside right now and give you guys a little bit of a look at that beautiful stack. The stack is required to be 6 feet above the highest point of your roof. and that is required by the EPA. You got to check your state, city, or county to make sure you are following the right guidelines, and a lot of that information can be found online, and a lot of it's just a phone call away. So I do recommend contacting your local clean air agency, which is the EPA, and even your city, and get some information, because you do want to be on their good side when you guys are putting one of these spray booths in. So you can see the big ol' pipe up there. We did have to have an extra section. The kit only came with 3 sections. We had to add a 4th section to get us to be the height that we needed. And you can see that I have it cabled down at 3 points. I was gonna add a 4th point, but I just never did. And it appears that it's just fine with the 3 points. I was gonna have a 4th point coming down almost near the gutter. You can go back and look at the install video for the exhaust, and you guys will get a little better look at the cabling points. But I did have to go down to the store, the hardware store, and buy that cable and those anchors and stuff like that to actually make sure that that exhaust is anchored down to the roof, which is actually really easy, guys. That was probably one of the easiest points. I did have to rent a man lift for a couple of hours to come over here and help get that exhaust pipe stood up, because we assembled it on top of the roof, and it was just, even though we could lift it, it was just a little too awkward and dangerous as well to tilt it back up. So we did have to rent a man lift and hook a strap up to it. We just went up real quick, put it in place, sunk some screws, anchored it down, and it's been fine ever since. So, and that has a little butterfly door on the top that flips open when you turn the fan on, and that works awesome. Squeaks a little bit, but everything functions. So we're gonna jump back inside because it is chilly out here, guys. The booth is beautiful, guys. M-tek was amazing to work with. You know, they didn't pay me or anything. They were just amazing people to work with. That was the second time I worked with them, and I'm glad I did. They were very responsive. They communicated well over the phone. They communicated well over email. They were helpful as far as any questions that I did have. But for the most part, you do have to get a little bit creative, try to work with the seals a little bit, and that's kind of up to you. And obviously how level your concrete has a little bit to do with it. Plumbing the exhaust, like I said, fire suppression, you do have to get a little bit creative, but overall, very happy with the product. I would buy from them absolutely again. I think this is the best spray booth for the buck. It's a semi-downdraft spray booth. This is the 24-foot model from M-tek spray booths. You can find them at mtekspraybooths.net. I think the booth performs phenomenal. Of course, there are better booths out there that cost a lot more money that might work a little bit better. I think this is the best bang for the buck, especially if you're an at-home guy doing this on your own. You just want to put a spray booth up at your house, or if you're just trying to put one at your small business. I think this is a great booth to have. Of course, sometimes they get some dust particles in the paint. Got to pull out the old color sandpaper and do some color sanding and machine buffing and polishing, and everything just turns out amazing. But sometimes things come out 100% perfect, and sometimes you get a little bit of dust particles in. That also depends on how good you have it sealed up, your environment, wetting the floor, wearing a good paint suit. Everything you do leading up to spraying kind of affects how good the job's gonna come out. But overall, the M-tek spray booth is amazing. Very happy, very satisfied with it. So if you guys have any questions at all, please leave a comment down below. I will promise to respond to each and everybody. If you guys want to contact me further, you can go ahead and reach out to our email, which is also in the description. I will be doing one more video on this about the total cost for the spray booth install, at least in my area. And I also did this in the middle of COVID. So for having something work out so flawlessly, even in the middle of some rough times, was just awesome and phenomenal. So very happy. So if anybody has any questions, make sure to leave those questions in the comments, or contact us at our email, or visit www.nitroautolab.com. You can contact us there as well. I promise to reply to everybody. So I will be doing one more video, like I said, of the total cost for install. That includes the spray booth itself, any screws, bolts, anything else that I bought additionally, permits, clean air licenses, everything that's needed to do this, the electrical, the fire suppression, all that stuff will be included, and I'll give you guys a grand total of what it costs to put this spray booth in my shop. So anyways, like this video, leave a comment down below, hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and we'll see you on the next one.
like LeBron, though, or like Lonzo. Ooh, I'm a baller, yeah, shot caller, yeah. They love me, you can't touch me, nah, can't trust me. I'm too lucky. Look at me, look at you, what you see, what you do.